This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to I'll Have Another Podcast with Lindsay Hine. I'm your host Lindsay and you are listening to episode 290. Today's episode is sponsored by Previnex. This is where I get all of my multivitamins and supplements, my protein powder. If you are a runner and you're looking for a good supplement for your joints, definitely check out their Joint Health Plus. This is a clinically effective and premium quality product. All of their products are. This is going to help you have longevity in the sport. It protects your joints and makes them feel so much better, both during exercise and after. I love this review from one of the listeners of this show. I didn't believe that this supplement could make a difference. After the switch from my old supplement, I have zero joint issues and am running even better than before. I've also had people reach out to me on Instagram who have been using the Joint Health Plus who have said it's been a game changer for them. So make sure you go check that out. Go to Previnex.com and use the code ANOTHER to get 15% off your order. All right, today I'm talking with Rachel Schneider, and I am so excited about this episode. Rachel just had an amazing race at the track meet. She won the 10K in a time of 31:09, making her the 8th fastest all-time American at the 10K distance. She is sponsored by Under Armour. She ran for Georgetown, where she was a 5-time All-American. And we get to hear all about her life leading up to this amazing performance, how she became sponsored by Under Armour 6 years ago. It's actually a really fun story. A story unlike any other sponsorship story I've heard in the running industry, and what her sights are set on for the future. A really fun episode with Rachel. I've been wanting to have her on the show for a while. She's training partners and she runs with Diane Newcurry and Sarah Hall. And ever since I interviewed Diane for this podcast, I've had my mind set on interviewing Rachel. So I thought no better time than after running such a stellar 10K at the track meet. Before we talk with Rachel, I want to make sure you all have the Rambling Runners Virtual Summit on your radar for January 15th through the 17th. This summit is going to be amazing. Matt Chittum has put so much heart into this project, and what you're going to get is 20 plus of the most accomplished people in the running community covering a wide range of specific topics from injury, goal setting, pushing past your limits, nightly recaps with Carolyn Sue, the founder of Diverse We Run, as well as Matt Chittum. And the cool thing is, if you can't make it live, I think live would be fun, but if you can't make it live, you get lifetime access to all the video sessions. Huge. Every time Matt comes to me with a new idea, I am in awe of his energy and his passion for the sport and the community, and I know this event is just going to be spectacular. So it's January 15th through the 17th, and it's $150, but you can save $25 when you use the code HINE, that's my last name, HEIN, at your checkout. Definitely go check it out, theramblingrunner.com/summit, and I will be there, and I hope to see you there. All right, enjoy my conversation with Rachel Schneider. Today on the podcast, we have Rachel Schneider on the show. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
How are you feeling? Congratulations after the win at the 10K at the track meet.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I'm feeling excited. Definitely walked away with that. Mainly, honestly, the focus was just feeling so full of joy and grateful to have had that opportunity. The time of COVID, it's really tough to put on any type of event. So Sound Running and Jesse and everyone who helped put that on, it was just a lot of hard work. And I think all of us went into it feeling so grateful and so full of joy to have that opportunity. And that sentiment was carried through the race and still lingering days after. Yeah, I'm doing well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been super fun to see different groups get creative and make these events happen. And especially, it's such an opportunity for you guys. You need these races to get your times, that your qualifying times and things like that. So, and selfishly as a fan, it gives us something to cheer for.
Yeah. It was a great weekend between the track meet and the Valencia marathon and half marathon. It almost felt like a normal weekend for running. And yeah, it's definitely something I think all of the professionals, but everyone who likes to run, like we've missed racing a lot this year. So it's great to have had one shot at it at the end.
Yeah. Tell me, how far from Flagstaff was the race? How far did you have to travel?
It was about a 7.5 hour drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
now, who did you go with?
I went with my partner, Mike.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we drove out together.
7.5 hours. Okay, so how far in advance did you get there? I'm just curious with you sit in a car for 7 hours, your legs are like, blah.
Yeah. We drove 2 hours on Wednesday night, and then we drove the rest of the way Thursday. So had a few days, but yeah, had all day Friday and Saturday leading into the race to get the legs up and get them feeling good coming off that drive.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about dark sky running, of course, and Under Armour and all that good stuff. Let's walk back a little bit, though, so that the listeners can get to know who Rachel was before this part of your life. You went to Georgetown, 5-time All-American then, and I am super intrigued by your story because it's different than, the typical, you get recruited out of college and you go pro. And so this has kind of been a longer road for you.
Yeah, Georgetown was an incredible place to go to college. Really in love with the team and the culture there. So that kind of springboarded my running. My passion for running, and kind of made me believe that I could compete at a high level. But coming out of college, kind of like you said, I was not being recruited by any agent companies or definitely no sponsor companies. So I knew my heart was still in it, and I knew I wanted to keep trying to run at as high a level as possible. So luckily, Mike believed in me and agreed to coach me. And I was going to grad school at the time. So busy with grad school and then working, I think, 3 or 4 part-time jobs to make the financial end meet. So I look back on that now. It was, I think around 7 years ago. And I have so much fondness for that time because it was a real grind, and it was definitely something that I think shaped me and my work ethic and helped me realize how much I wanted to really pursue running and how far I would go to actually make it work. And I was working really hard at running and working really hard in grad school and working really hard with these part-time jobs, but had so much joy doing all of that. And fortunately, within, I think it was probably about 9 or 10 months after graduating from Georgetown, I had that 9-month span of doing all that, and then finished, I think, 3rd at the U.S. Indoor National Championships, and I missed making the world team by 0.01 second in the 1500 that outdoor season, and it was right around then that Under Armour signed me. So it all kind of panned out well, and now I've been with Under Armour for over 6 years.
Yeah, talk to me about the Under Armour sponsorship and the relationship when you connected with them after you missed that world team by the 0.01 seconds. Was it an agent that connected you? I'm always super interested to hear how these things work out.
Yeah, this is actually a totally different story than probably any other professional runners.
Oh, cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's a little untraditional, but one of my jobs was working at the Georgetown Running Company, and some Under Armour executives came into the running store to check it out and to figure out how they wanted to use the space to market the Under Armour shoes that were coming out. Mm-hmm. And I happened to be working when they came in, and this wonderful woman, Georgina, was there, and we started talking, and we're obviously talking about running, and I kind of told her where I was at, and she was just so kind and gave me her business card and told me to keep her updated on where I was. And I shot her an email, and she forwarded it to the run marketing department at Under Armour. And because of Georgina and because of me kind of reaching out, they ended up signing me to my first deal. So that's when I actually reached out to an agent company to help me figure out how that first contract should look. And reached out to Total Sports, and Stephen Haas became my agent. And that was actually the first way I got sponsored.
Wow.
Or worked out my first deal. So a little serendipitous there, but yeah.
Well, that is so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a little untraditional for sure. And then actually after that, that happened right before the U.S. Indoor Championships, and then a few months later, the U.S. Outdoor Championships, where I finished fifth and just missed making that world team. So I think it was a good thing for everyone all around.
So had you already reached out though before you just missed making the team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was already sponsored by them at that point. So.
Okay. I feel like I should know that, but it's kind of hard to find online, actually. So I'm so excited that you shared that story. That's so cool. I also think it's like a huge testament for like believing like you are where you're supposed to be. You were working all these part-time jobs. You're still pursuing running. You're in grad school. But at the same time, you get you talk to these Under Armour people, and there's that like why not me, kind of like why not reach out deal going.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. And I think that that's encouragement to people, because you could have just been like, she probably didn't really mean it, but you went out and you contacted anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot to being proactive and kind of, making some of the steps in your journey in the ways that you need to. But yeah, I look back on that, and that was definitely a cool, special time.
Now, in college, you specialized in the 800 and the 1500, and we've seen you kind of move up to the 5K and now the 10K. When did that progression kind of start taking place?
Yeah, I definitely would have boxed myself in as a 1500 who dabbled in the 800 in college. I look back and I'm really blessed the way that my coaches have like developed me really gradually over time. The 5K, I think my first couple of 5Ks now were probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it wasn't something I thought I would ever be that excited about. But yeah, we've really worked on my strength training and volume and kind of developing that side of fitness. And I have almost been surprised how much I've loved moving up into the 5K, and coming off this weekend, a little surprised how much I really enjoyed running or racing that 10K, and totally looking forward to doing more of those. But yeah, from my past, way more of a 1500 runner.
So who was it that was like, Rachel, it's time to try the 10K?
I think it's something that we've kind of had our eyes set on now for a little bit. Mike and I had talked about doing one at the first Stanford meet, which would have been early this April. Obviously that got canceled, but I've been excited to kind of test my strength in the 10K and even in distances further than that. Again, my training is pretty high volume and long workouts. So for a while now, people close to me have said, like, you should totally like try a 10K and a half marathon. And it's not something I'm resistant to, but I think I've always really enjoyed those middle distance events. So I haven't been in a rush to try those out. But yeah, the 10K was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to keep doing those in the near future.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you've mentioned Mike a few times. I know that was your coach at Georgetown when you finished up, and you kind of followed him to Flagstaff. But what does that look like now that the Dark Sky Distance group is happening in Flagstaff as well?
Yeah, Mike's been my coach now for 8.5 years. And the Dark Sky Distance group, which is exciting, that's finally been announced. I feel like that's been in the works for a little bit now, is a fairly big group now. And they're coached by Stephen Haas and Shayla Houlihan. I'm associated with it through Under Armour and try to sync up with them here and there, but Mike continues to coach me. And yeah, the two of us have been working together, 8.5 years. So, so much gratitude and appreciation for the the steps he's taken with me in this journey.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I was wondering, because I know on your Instagram profile it doesn't say you're part of the group, but I kind of associated you with them because you run for Under Armour.
Oh, yeah, geez, I haven't even looked at my Instagram profile thing. I don't know if that wasn't necessarily intentional, but yeah, kind of we worked it out. So I'm a little different than everyone else in the group in the sense that, yeah, being coached by Mike, but still syncing up with the dark sky distance group and helping them out in ways that I can, but mainly focused on my training and the specific goals I'm going after right now.
Gotcha. Okay. I can't be the only one that assumed that, oh, she's part of the dark sky group. But then I went and I was like, but is she? I don't know. And then I looked at the results of the 10K at the track meet, and like some people had dark sky on it, but some people didn't. But the cool thing is a lot of Under Armour athletes in that top 10. That's exciting.
Oh my gosh. It's so exciting. It's really exciting to see the way that Under Armour is growing in the sport.
Yeah.
On all levels, like professionally, but I mean, all over. They're really invested a lot in the run world right now. And it's so cool to see them invest in forming an elite running group in Flagstaff. And they've got awesome people leading it and incredible people on the team. And yeah, I'm sure you saw Winnie Kaladi just joined, or that was just announced leading into the track meet, and getting to race with her and Sharon and Emily Durgan at the track meet was so much fun. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for Under Armour. Yeah,
going back to you signing 6 years ago, if I'm being honest, I had no idea you had been with them for that long. And so you must have been really one of the first distance runners sponsored by Under Armour.
Yeah, it was. It's been a really amazing thing to witness how much they've grown in these 6 years. Yeah, so that's true. I was one of the first distance people. Natasha Hastings had been with them before I got there, but obviously she's on the sprint side. So. Yeah,
and then another athlete I've interviewed for that runs with Under Armour is Aisha Pratt-Lear, and I kind of felt like when I interviewed her, even that she was one of the first athletes, distance athletes sponsored by them. But you were really an OG.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about this 10K. I want to hear the details. Like, what were your goals going into the race? Like, did you have your mindset on the win, or did you have your mindset on, I want to get that Olympic standard?
Neither, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I think I was a little bit more internally focused than on outcomes going into this race. I had not been in a race in almost 10 months, and my last outdoor track meet or track race had been, I think, 14 months before that in Doha. So
wow,
this was, it'd been a while. And in that time, I had gone through a long injury over the summer. So we were more so just focused on really getting back out there. And obviously I kind of knew that I was in pretty decent shape and wanted to go out with that lead crew. But the goals I had going in and throughout the race were really just focusing on myself and competing. We talked about, just trying to beat as many people as we could, and, just running a tough race and kind of getting that feel back, but wasn't necessarily shooting for getting any standards or the win outside of just trying to compete. But yeah, that was it was really special getting to line up with such a phenomenal field of women, and also really incredible to have Dana Giordano and Emily Lapari set a fast pace from the beginning. So it was cool to be in that.
Yeah, when in the race did you know, wow, I'm having a day?
Probably with about a mile to go. I was like, oh, this race is it's almost over, and the mile is my event. So just focus on each lap at a time now. And, you're right there with the leaders, and see what you can do at the end.
The mile's my event, but here I am doing a 10K on the track. Did it feel really long? Yeah, I mean, I know your workouts have been super intense, but that's a lot of laps when you're used to being a 1,500 meter runner.
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought it would feel longer than it did. Most of the workouts that I do are much longer than 6 miles of work. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it felt long in terms of having to grind for that long, but it did feel different in the sense of, the 1500 or the 5K, it just goes out faster and there's a higher intensity and I think a higher energy throughout the race. So it felt different in that sense of just really relaxing into that pace for a long amount of time before feeling like, okay, this is where we come on now.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us about those workouts you mentioned that are a lot more work than 6 miles of work. How have you progressed into those bigger, more monstrous, I think that's probably a good term for it, workouts?
Really incrementally. We've totally, I think back to my high school years of not running much at all into starting into college, probably, running 40 to 45 miles a week and just slowly building up both the volume of weekly mileage and then the volume in workouts. So there's nothing, I can't really look back and be like, oh, there's a huge jump or all of a sudden just decided to start doing 12 by mile. It's all been a really gradual growth, which I think has also been great with being healthy for the most part outside of this little injury this summer. But yeah, consistency and incremental growth over years has been really key into building into some of these bigger workouts.
Yeah. Tell us about the injury.
Yeah, this summer is tough.
For
the first time ever, I had Achilles tendonitis, which I've never dealt with any tendon issues in the past. So that was totally new for me and a bit of a roller coaster. So totally have increased empathy for people dealing with tendons or any injuries for sure. But yeah, it was a bit touch and go there for almost 3 months.
Well, yeah, and especially this year in 2020, not a good year to have something that's going to mess with your mental health, right? How did you handle that?
Yeah, I agree. The first 4 months of the pandemic was fortunately really healthy and running some of the biggest volume weeks of my career. So that was great for me mentally. But even through the injury, I'm so grateful to have such an incredible support system here and have amazing relationships here that I think just really ground me and provide so much love and joy outside of running that even when running's not going well, I'm honestly have so much to be thankful for and so much happiness in my life outside of running. So mentally, it was obviously tough to be away from running and not as fun cross training, but I am pretty grounded and have an amazing foundation of love and support. So
that's
got through it just fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. You said you were running your, really high mileage and doing really well at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm curious, what were you planning to do at the trials this summer before everything got moved?
Yeah, before things changed, I definitely would have done the 5K.
Okay.
That is at the end of the trial. So, nothing to lose there. I think the question was whether or not I would have done the 1500 before the 5K. So we never, part of that was just kind of waiting to see how the season progressed and what we thought the best shot at making the team would be. So either 15 and 5K or just the 5K.
Wow. How much has shifted now? Are you going to be specializing in the 10K now? You did just run, what was it, the 8th fastest all-time American 10K?
Yeah. We'll see. I definitely am looking forward to doing more 10Ks down the road and for sure in the near future too.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I think more so I'm less inclined to put myself in a box like I used to. I used to be like, oh, I'm a miler, that's my event. But now I'm having so much fun in a lot of different distances, and I'm also excited to try distances that I have yet to. So I would just love to keep those doors open and not put myself into a one event specialist.
Oh, I love that. I just heard, who was it? Oh, yesterday I talked to I already mentioned him once in this podcast, but I was talking to Rory Linkletter about this, and he was talking about, how Coach Ben Rosario at NAZ Elite does a really good job with doing exactly that, not boxing people into just like one specialty. And even though a lot of that team, you see them running marathons, then you go see them at meets like the one we just had running 10Ks. So I think that seems to be like a really healthy way to view, not just the sport, but just like life in general, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so true. NAZ Elite does a phenomenal job of really diversifying their profiles and events. And what their women's team just did at the track meet, especially Kellen and Steph in the midst of marathon training, hitting that Olympic standard, and Danny setting a huge 1 minute PR is such a testament to their program. And I do believe they have a really great open mindset in terms of, what they're going after and what they're end up being really good at. So yeah, I think there's definitely some good takeaways from that.
Yeah. So don't box yourself in, people. There's a lot out there. That's a really cool way to think about life. Now, I know you run with Diane Newcurry and Sarah Hall sometimes. Do you get out and run? Who else do you get out and run with in the Flagstaff communities? Dark Sky, obviously, but yeah, who are some of your favorites to run with?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sarah Hall and Diane Newcurry have been just such positive people in my life, absolutely within the sport of running, but their friendship far outside of running as well. Like this, they've had, just huge impacts on me. And it's been so fun to sync up with them a lot, especially throughout the pandemic. Those have kind of been my people, and we put in a lot of miles together and a lot of cross training together. So they're two people I consider teammates, and outside of them and with Dark Sky, and I love the people on NAZ Elite, so occasionally run with them. I have an awesome friend in town named Colin Schultz, who's also an up and coming runner. Look out for him. He's very young in his career, but he's been really, really fun to sync up with a lot as well. So, and then, Flagstaff is just such a hotbed of runners that all these teams come in for altitude training camps. And when my friends are here, I definitely enjoy getting to run with them. And it's an incredible community. So lots of wonderful people and people with incredible mindsets to be around.
I love that you call Diane and Sarah your teammates, even though you are like not sponsored by the same brand, don't even run this, race the same distances right now. That's so cool.
Yeah, they're people, they're lifelong teammates. That's for sure.
Yes, I love that, lifelong teammates. That's such a good concept too. Look at Rachel coming with all the inspirational knowledge, because I say this to my kids all the time. I'm like, we're on the same team. When like people are getting mad and angry, that's the term I use. I'm like, we're on each other's team. And so I love the concept of like lifelong teammates. That's so cool. Tell me a little bit more about running with Diane and Sarah, though, because they are marathoners. And I know obviously they do the half too, but and Sarah's probably going to come do the 10K at the track trials. But like, what has that factored into beefing up your workouts to become a stronger 10K runner?
Gosh, I wouldn't say we've altered training to like sync up or to match up with them. Mm-hmm. It's more like when the three of us can, or when two of us can at the same time overlap our training, then we do. But I absolutely take a lot of inspiration from their longevity in this sport. Mm-hmm. Like they are so strong and so fast, and they're like just great role models for anyone, honestly, to have a healthy life, like healthy long-term relationship with running and competing. So I've looked to them and am inspired by them a lot in that area, and then absolutely love running with them and love trying to hold on to them in some of their longer workouts as well. But yeah, we've got a great little thing going.
Hey everybody, a quick break here to thank a sponsor for this episode. This episode is sponsored by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh lets you skip those trips to the grocery store and makes home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. I love HelloFresh. When I get a HelloFresh delivery, I am so excited because I've got 3 nights of meals that week that I don't have to do any planning for. My favorite dish is an Israeli couscous dish, but let me tell you, most recently, they sent a barbecue cheese quesadilla dish, and it was so good. Flavors I would have never thought to put together on my own. And that's one of my favorite things about HelloFresh is that you come up with new ideas. They're always changing the game and changing up their recipes. It's so good. So the recipes are easy to follow with simple steps and pictures to guide you along the way. And over 90% of ingredients are sourced directly from growers to ensure peak flavor and ripeness. Feeding the whole family has never been easier with lower prices for larger box sizes, so more servings means more savings. So one of the things I love is that you can easily change your delivery days or meal plan preferences and skip a week whenever you need right on their app. So go to HelloFresh.com/80another and use the code 80another to get $80 off, including free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/80another and use the code 80another to get $80 off, including free shipping. Thank you, HelloFresh, for supporting this podcast. And while I have you all still here, don't forget I started a parenting podcast. It's a great little show. We've got 12 episodes so far. I've had conversations with experts and everyday parents. And my hope is that that show just arms you with knowledge as a parent or someone helping raise kids to be empowered and feel not so alone in the whole parenting situation. It's definitely been uplifting to me, and I hope it's uplifting to you. You can find that in any podcast app. It's called Why Is Everyone Yelling? We also have an Instagram page for that. It's also called Why Is Everyone Yelling? All right, friends, enjoy the rest of my conversation with Rachel Schneider. You know, you mentioned going into the 10K when I asked you if you were trying to get the win, trying to get the qualifier, and you said you were more internally focused. So let's talk about that mindset a little bit more. Is that something that's new to you, or is that something you've always been focused on?
It's something I've always tried to be focused on, but it's not something I'm always great at. There's lots of ebbs and flows, I think, throughout my past with running where I'm really dialed in to the mindset that I value. And then other times where I think I get distracted and can be off course and focus too much on external things. And it's more trying recently to develop an awareness of when I am being distracted or pulled away from my own personal goals and my personal relationship with the sport, and trying to protect that more rather than, especially going into an Olympic year. Like, I think, you know, a lot of people are going to define success as making that Olympic team. And while I think, you know, that's absolutely a goal that I have and something that would be just an incredible, obviously working to make that Olympic team. But I also want to be really conscientious of the ways that I'm defining success, especially going into this year where I think externally it's going to be like make the team or bust mentality. And I just don't want to buy into that. So I sometimes I'm really good at being internally focused and internally driven. And then other times I think I can kind of get caught up on these outside factors that I actually don't run as well when I'm focused on what other people are saying or doing or thinking or playing that comparison game. So it's something of trying to do some like deep work on a lot through this pandemic. And I think the 10K, I absolutely felt and practiced that. And it was a good place to practice that before some of these meets coming up in 2021 where there'll be some probably bigger things on the line.
Yeah, it worked really well for you. What do you read or listen to, or what inspires you to do that work?
Oh gosh, I have lots of lists of books and podcasts that help me do this work. I love reading. It's the main way I spend my time outside of running. We don't have a TV in the house, and I'm not really watching, or I'm not really spending time watching shows. So the way I kind of fill those hours between training is with reading and then listening to podcasts. But oh gosh, lot of different books that have helped me through this or with this.
Would you recommend that we all get rid of our TVs?
I'm going to leave that up to the individuals. I don't know. I've never actually really had a TV, so I can't say one way or another. But
growing up, your family didn't have a TV?
We had a box TV that had about 6 TV channels. I can't even tell you what they were because there's nothing good on them.
No TGIF.
I've heard it. Yeah, TGIF sounds familiar, but we had movies. We had movies, and that's about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say TGIF might have been a little bit before your time. I mean, I feel like that was like prime when I was a kid. Step by Step, Family Matters. I don't know if Family Matters was on TGIF, but yeah, you might have been just a little bit too young for that. I find that so interesting. I really was not into TV at all until I had kids, honestly, because now once I get my kids to bed, I'm like, I just want to watch something terrible that's like not gonna like make me have to think about anything. It's just my time to zone out.
Yes.
I remember in college, even though, like my friends and roommates, they would always watch these shows. I feel like the OC and shows like that were popular, and I was always like, why are you doing this with your time? Why are you spending time watching these other people live their lives? But now at 37, here I am watching The Bachelorette.
Oh my gosh. I mean, sometimes that's what you need though. Like those mindless, just relaxing, don't have to like think things. So absolutely. And I should say, my friend bought me the Friends DVDs.
Okay.
When I was in high school, so I grew up watching Friends.
Oh,
so,
I love Friends.
Absolutely, me too.
You know what's weird though is when you watch Friends now, like if you catch it on TV or something, you're like, oh my gosh. Well, at least for me, I'm like, they're like 10 years younger than I am right now in this show, and I watched it growing up, and they seemed so old.
Yep. And then also how many things are outdated, like long before cell phones. And I love that.
It's so good. That and Seinfeld. I'm obsessed with Seinfeld. I mean, I haven't watched it in years, but that was a good one growing up too. Okay. I have to know though, I know you said, oh, I have tons of books, but like you have to give us a couple of recommendations if you're so into reading, because I'm a big reader too. And, sometimes I get into these like self-help circles though, where I'm like, okay, what, Atomic Habits, Essentialism. And I'm like, if I can't read one more book like that, but there are some life-changing books that are like, you gotta read this book. What are some that you recommend?
Oh gosh. Okay. Some recent ones I would say that have had a good impact on me are, Ryan Holiday's Stillness is the Key. I really thought that was super applicable. Or just like a super great self-help book in a way. Mm-hmm. One of my all-time favorites is The Book of Joy by, that one is so full of wisdom, but it's also just there's so much humor throughout it. It's by the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Okay. That one, if I had to pick one, it might be The Book of Joy. I gave that to everyone in my family for Christmas last year. I would say More Myself by Alicia Keys was an incredible autobiography. That and Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which is another great, personal stories. Tanesha Coates' Between the World and Me was, I would say, a must read. And then not so much self-help. I mean, a lot of those that's a wide variety, but sure. Cutting for Stone was, Sarah gave me Cutting for Stone, and I really enjoyed reading that through the pandemic as well. Okay, I don't want to go into too many, but that's probably 5 or 6 that I would say. Yeah,
I love it. And I love the idea of gifting your favorite book. Like that's so smart. It's such a simple gift, and if it brought you joy, it's probably going to bring those people joy.
Yeah, yeah. I love a few of my friends and I will like mail each other books that we've been reading, and I love sharing books with people and getting recommendations from them too, because it's such a gift.
So you kind of hinted about not putting yourself in a box and wanting to run other distances. So one might wonder, what does that mean? What other distances are you thinking about running, Rachel?
Well, my guess is we'd probably be moving up rather than down. I don't think running a 400 is gonna too much. But yeah, I hope to have a lifelong relationship with running. I can't imagine not. But at some point, I would love to, try a half marathon and marathon and head into the trails and the ultra marathon. We've got an incredible ultra marathon and trail community in Flagstaff, and getting to listen to some of their stories, it's just so appealing to dabble in something totally in a different type of pain world and different type of running community. But I don't know. I would love to probably try everything.
Yeah.
See what I like.
So even ultras at some point in your life, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so.
What's it like working with Mike, your coach? Is he still coaching at NAU, and are you one of the only professional athletes that he coaches?
Gosh, it's great working with Mike. He's a phenomenal coach. I probably don't speak too much. It's NAU, what NAU is doing is just, it's a huge privilege for me to witness, and the energy of being around that team and getting to watch the ways that both the men's and women's team are growing on individual levels, but then as just like their whole team is doing phenomenal stuff, and the way they're doing it and the way that they're building this culture and supporting each other it's really inspiring and motivating for me. Like I love when I get to be around the men and women's NAU team. So I benefit a lot from Mike's coaching NAU and getting to just be on the outskirts of that. So that's really special. And then, Mike's also coaching Galen Rupp, and that's been really cool to also witness part of that process and that growth too.
Oh, wow. I do think now that you mentioned that, I did know that he coached Galen, and yes, I remember reading an article about that. Oh, cool. What has that looked like, like transitioning? I know this has been a long time. You've been working with him for so long, but what is that like as a professional athlete, going from like, this is my college coach to this is my coach coaching me as a pro? This is my actual job now.
Yeah, that Mike came in right at the end of my college career. So in a way, I was kind of right towards the end of college was kind of already shifting both like mentally and physically into like wanting to be trained like a pro and wanting to like kind of transition into that. Mm-hmm. So it was a really easy transition. I mean, we've just kind of always been dialed into my own individual process and focusing on the steps, like where I'm at and the steps to get me to the next level. So it was never like a big, there's never anything that like kind of was like, oh, this is really, really different now. It was more just, all right, now I've got more time to recover, and now I've got more time to be able to focus on running. But outside of that, we've kind of always been dialed into where I am in the journey of becoming the best I can be, and where that is in the present.
Yeah. So before Mike, you were coached by Coach Miltenberg, and I've heard really great things about him as well. How are their coaching styles different, and how did you handle that coaching transition your senior year?
Yeah, gosh, he's an awesome coach. I have so much gratitude for him bringing me into Georgetown and kind of believing in me and taking a chance on me and developing me that first part. Cause, I was pretty undertrained in high school. So it was really awesome for him to help bring me up to become a NCAA All-American and be able to compete at that high level. Both of them they were both coached by Pat Henner. So they were college teammates. So they have a lot of similarities in their coaching styles. But the things that I would say are the most important, and this resonates with both of their coaching, is they just, at the core of their coaching, it's all about the people and all about the relationship, the person's relationship to running, the person's relationship with what they're doing in life, and their relationship as coach athletes. So it's always been way more, both of them, I think, at the center is it's about the journey and the process, and outcomes are great. And like they're both such phenomenal coaches in the terms of like knowing what to do for training and knowing how to produce phenomenal results. But I think the thing I admire the most in their coaching styles is just the way that they do it and what they value, and keeping those relationships and connections at the core of their coaching.
Yeah, it seems like the second a coach loses that personal connection, like what's more important, my athlete racing well or my athlete's whole being? As soon as that connection is lost, a lot can go downhill. So that's really awesome that you've had those experiences with them.
Honestly, yeah, I feel so lucky to have my history of who have had coach me is, I feel really lucky and really grateful.
Yeah, I was just talking to Allie Ostrander about this specific topic about the coach-athlete relationship, specifically in college, and how important it is for coaches to be able to personalize not just workouts, but just like the whole training process instead of looking at like, this is what the team does. And that can get really hard if you have a big team.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder how college coaches are able to do everything they're able to do, because especially when you do value those relationships, like it's a huge time commitment, and there's so much on their plate just outside of the coach athlete stuff going on. Like, I mean, managing teams and directing, and it's a lot. These coaches deserve a ton of credit for all the things on their plate and all the things they're doing behind the scenes. And a lot of it's not glamorous, but you can tell the coaches who really love it and who are passionate about it, and what they do is deserves a ton of credit, and they go above and beyond. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned that you're going into school, like you had a pretty low mileage base, you weren't running a ton, and then you get to college. What is that like as a someone on the team when you're mixed in with others who might be coming into it with such a bigger base? Like how did you see Coach Milt handle that with you? I mean, there's a lot to be said for developing an athlete without burning them out, right?
Absolutely. I think, again, like Coach Milt was so good at developing each person, like meeting them where they were at with their training, and not trying to like just have everyone fit into one training plan of like, all right, like even if you're coming in at like 25 miles a week, like go run 60 miles a week. Like it was very like, all right, we're going to meet you where you are, and here's like your individualized training plan. But I also think so much of success in college is it's way more mental than physical. I think about myself going into Georgetown, and I was so excited to be put on a team where the women who are already on the team and even the recruits coming in were way better than I was. And that like had excited me. Like I was like, these women are going to push me and help me to be way better than I am. And I'm going to get to like work out with some of the best in the country. And even if that means like I'm getting dropped, or even if that means like I'm off the back all the time, like it is just such a privilege to get to like, you know, work with these women and to be pushed by them, and to get to learn from them. So I think a lot of kind of like the reasons I didn't burn out was kind of the excitement to always be pushed to have others bring out the best in me. And that's a lot of the ways I still try to think of my competitors is like, they're not not like me against them. It's more like, okay, how can they help me be the best version of me? And that's how I think lining up a lot of these days. And I mean, this past 10K, it was just exciting. So it's like, oh, we're all here to like help each other run as fast as we can and to bring out the best of each other. So I think a lot of that's probably more mentality.
I'm trying to think were you there with Emily Enfield? Because you're 30, right?
Yep. Yeah. Emily was the grade above me. So we were on the team together for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else were you on the team with? That any names that we might know?
Oh man, I like want to list everybody. So I
know.
Wish everybody knew. Yeah, Emily Infeld was the year above me. You obviously all know her. She's to this day one of my best friends and someone who I regularly keep in touch with and talk to, and always cheering for her. Renee, Tomlin, and Kirsten, Casper are both professional triathletes who have great shots. Yeah, they were incredible runners at Georgetown, but they have great shots at making the U.S. Triathlon Olympic team.
Okay.
So they're still in it. And then there's just a lot of women who I was on the team with, both older than me and in my year and even below me, that I just had the privilege of learning a lot from and growing with, and to this day I'm still super close to.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love hearing that. Talk to us a little bit about your dogs. I know that they're an important part of your life.
Oh yeah, they're a huge part of my life. Mike and I have 3 dogs. We've got a Australian Shepherd named Khaleesi, a mix named Bubs, and another mix who I think we did a DNA test on him because he was really funny as a puppy, but he's half Great Dane, half Husky, I think, and his name is Dan. So yeah, three big, crazy, active, super sweet, snuggly dogs that we love them so much.
I mean, I love that your dog's name is Dan. That's amazing. How did you name him?
Oh, that's a good story, actually. Mike and I were in Mexico for Thanksgiving 2 years ago, and we were driving back to the U.S., and there was some puppies on the street, and we were stuck in traffic. So we went out and looked at them, and there was these 2 little puppies in a cage, and on the cage it was scribbled Great Dan. And we were trying to communicate. Yeah. So it was meant to say Great Dane, but the person forgot the E. So anyways, we got one of the Great Dan puppies and called him Dan.
That's so good. And then Bub, tell me about naming Bub, because that's awesome too.
I don't really know how he came up with that name. I don't know. He's just a Bub. He's just a big, dopey, sweet dog off the reservation that Mike's friend rescued and gave to us, and he's been a huge blessing in our lives. But yeah, I don't know how we named him. Yeah,
maybe I'll name my next dog Bob. Just Bob. I love that. How did you and Mike meet?
At Georgetown. So Mike's my coach.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah. So Mike and I met at Georgetown. He's been coaching me for 8.5 years, and then almost 4 years ago, not quite 4 years ago, a few years, a little bit of time after moving to Flagstaff, we started dating.
Wow, I had no idea. Okay.
Oh, sorry, that was probably confusing. I'm like intermingling those.
No, like the name Mike is a super common name. I just didn't know that this was the same person. Wow, what is that like? That's crazy and cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like awesome things about having your partner also be your coach, because it's like extra dialed into like how you're feeling and what you're doing, and getting to like it's really like intimate the way that we get to like work together and help each other with coaching. Like I love getting to witness and help him in whatever ways with him coaching NAU, and then he's just really in tune with what I'm doing and what I need as an athlete, and it's been special. Yeah, it was totally unexpected, but I think Flagstaff really brought us together, and we'd already it's definitely a really cool thing to get to be so involved on a lot of levels.
That is so cool. Did you ever feel like people would be like, oh my gosh, she's dating her coach?
No, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of coach athlete couples. So
Totally.
not really. I mean, we were, yeah, I think in Flagstaff, like we had already developed like a friendship at the beginning of like Flagstaff, and college had felt so long ago that
Yeah,
it was
totally.
kind of like a natural like progression to just be seeing each other on these levels, and then gradually having that evolve. I don't know. Again, I guess I don't really like think or focus on so much what other people
No,
are
yeah.
saying. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Well, that's so cool though. And I wonder too, and this is obviously me just speaking like off the top of my head because I just realized this connection. Does that like make you think any like when he was your coach in college, like, oh my gosh, I respect him even more, like how much he handled being a coach now that you know him on that deeper, different level. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Like there are things I think as a college athlete, like you never see all the work that the coach is doing. And getting now to like witness just how invested they are and how much they're working and how much they're like helping people and taking care of people. Like that's definitely been eye-opening now being his partner and seeing how much he's giving of himself all the time.
Wow, that's so cool. So, now, do you ever run with the NAU team?
Oh, I haven't been able to that much because of the pandemic lately, but
Yeah.
you know, through the last couple of years, I'm around. Like I love getting to run with them here and there and sync up. You know, sometimes like I'll be working out at the same time they are. I've definitely gotten to know quite or a lot of them honestly, pretty well personally, and I love following along their journeys and cheering for them. And yeah, it's super special to witness what NAU is doing it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful work.
Yeah, and so now a couple of his athletes then have gone on and now they're with NAZ, right?
Yeah, they are. Matt Baxter and Tyler Day are over there, and they're in great hands with Ben Rosario. But it's so fun for Mike and I also just like still get to like see them in Flagstaff and watch this next step in their journey.
Yeah.
But those are some great guys.
What a cool community to live in. I mean, it has to feel so cool. And I mean, Flagstaff has kind of always been, one of the running meccas. You've got Boulder, but like it's kind of exploded in the last few years, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's always been known, but it's probably much more known, especially now with social media. I think it's kind of blown up in a way that has put it way more on a lot more people's radars in the last couple of years. But Flagstaff, I think, has a long history as just a beautiful training mecca and an incredible place to really go deep with running and hopefully deep with yourself and just put the work in and see how you can become better.
Yeah, deep with yourself. I know you also have a coaching business, Joy Running, and it seems like from talking to you and just reading your posts that you have a lot of joy in your own running. How do you keep your joy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think joy is something I try to keep at the center of my life. It's a little different than happiness. Like I think happiness is a feeling, but joy is kind of something that you can always have, even in those tough moments or even in moments that are hard or sad. Like just trying to keep things, focus on the good and keep focusing on all the things that you have in your life to be grateful and the privilege of being alive and getting to experience hopefully a full human life in the body that you're in. So I think sometimes when I can just zoom out a little bit, I realize how much good and how much I have in my life to be grateful for, and it allows me to be a little bit more present and a little bit more engaged, and through that I think joy is just naturally comes.
I picture you getting up in the morning and reading something like very thought-provoking and like joyful pursuing every morning. Would you say that's what you do?
I do have this book called The Daily Stoic that my Kyra Les Gregg at Hypo recommended, and it's something that I like. I think it's a great, like, it gives like little like quotes at the beginning of, just like thoughtful, thought-provoking things. And it's a great way to kind of like start the day in center. And I honestly, my morning habits are something I'm like working on dialing in, because I'm like way too keen to just pick up my phone and be like, all right, email, like social media. What's the latest news on, NBC Nightly News. And I'm like, man, I could like start my days out a little bit more mindful and a little bit more like peaceful. But through the day, I definitely am reading and I don't know. Yeah. Reading and meditating, and get the privilege of being outside running and hanging out with friends through work. So I got it pretty good.
Yeah, it is like really hard, especially if you sleep with your phone by your bed, because I usually just do that so I can like look at the time, right? And then you pick up your phone and you're like, you start scrolling, and it's like, I also try really hard to like not start my day like that, because I'm like, what do I want the first thing I'm thinking about to be? It doesn't need to be what somebody else is doing on Instagram, that's for sure, but I'm guilty for sure.
Oh, same. It's actually something like I've lately kind of been like, all right, I need to like work on my morning routine, because I agree. Like, I'm like, why is the first thing I'm putting in my head like the news and email and social media? Like, I'm like, that is like, it just kind of leads into not quite the right way to step foot into the day, not the right energy.
Yeah, it's definitely whatever you first do, it sets the tone for the day for sure. Okay, well, let's do some into podcast questions. What is something you would like to do still professionally or personally that you have not yet done?
Oh, so many things. Gosh, man, I hope I get the privilege of a long life and can fill it with a lot of things that I would love to do, but that's not going to help you. So let's see, professionally, from a running standpoint, we'll go there. Funny, I was talking to Sarah and Diane about this morning. We were just talking about some of our like running goals left. And a lot of my personal best times are like right on the cusp of some like, barriers of, like sub 2 and sub 4 and sub 420 and sub 15 and sub 31. Like just like a few seconds, or like very close to all those. And I'm like, I think it's more in tune of just like personal growth and development, but I would love to lower those times and maybe break through some of those just totally subjective barriers. But yeah, I think professionally, before taking the next step with running, I would just have some unfinished questions I have on the track about how good I can be, and especially within 2021. So love to make that Olympic team, and going to be working really hard these next 6 months to be the best version I can be in these coming months. So that's very short term, but that's kind of where my focus is right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you have Sarah and Diane to kind of talk through those dreams with. And at the same time, I know you're talking about those barriers, but also through this conversation, I know that internal focus and not necessarily like making those teams and things like that are what is the utmost importance.
Yeah, definitely.
I was thinking about that when you were saying it. I thought to bring it up and then I forgot. Who does a really good job expressing that is Steph Bruce. Yeah,
Steph is really puts herself out there, and she does a great job expressing a lot of the things that she's going through and working on and doing in her life. And yeah, she's great at articulating a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I can't remember, I'm sure she's made multiple posts about it, but definitely in one of the conversations I've had with her on this podcast, I can distinctly remember her talking about how, obviously wanting to make an Olympic team is a really big deal, but that's not like what defines her as an athlete or a human or a mom or whatever. I'm probably chopping up the way she said it, but that's really stuck with me for all the years since I had that conversation with her.
Absolutely. I think Steph is someone who does a good job, like really internalizing what success means to her, and not having success just be like a thing that's fed to her by external people or sources. So she's someone who's really dialed in with internally knowing what's what's important to her and what's going to make her feel like she's successful. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Now, you mentioned the barrier, though. 31:09, what you ran at the recent 10K, that puts you at the 8th fastest all-time American 10K. What is the American record? Do you know?
I know Molly Huddle has it. Molly got it in Rio. That was, I like vividly remember watching the race.
Oh, that race was insane. Yeah. I do remember that.
That was a crazy race. She had, it's like low 30s. I want to say 30-25, but
okay.
Don't necessarily quote me on that.
Well, I mean, that's achievable. Does that excite you?
Yeah, it's totally. It's I am excited mainly to just keep trying the event and to throw myself in different race settings in that distance and see what happens. But yeah, gosh, I mean, like just thinking about Molly's 10Ks and I mean Molly's won. She's won at least the last 5 USA 10K titles, and I just, there's so many women in this sport, in this country right now that are just doing really, really inspiring things. And the way that they're elevating other people, like you asking if possibly getting that record excites me, like totally excites me to watch how like we can elevate each other to like believe that we can hit those times, to like believe that we can all like, you know, like to reach that level. And I think that's the thing that excites me, like watching kind of some of these races that happened over the summer unfold of like, all right, like, you know, like people used to talk about like breaking sub 15 as like being like insane. And now we're like this, what American women are doing, like we're bringing it and we're elevating each other to believe like, all right, now we're into the 1420s. And like, that's kind of the mindset that you got to believe, like seeing yourself at. So I definitely get excited thinking and watching and observing what other women are accomplishing and then using that to kind of fuel my fire too.
That is such a great point. Okay, first of all, by the way, it's 30:13. I just looked it up.
Even faster, yeah.
But that's
Sorry,
that's less than a minute, by the way, which is really cool, especially coming off your injury and just like this weird year. But I love what you're saying about that too, because it is so true. I mean, it's like the first time it's like the story about the first time the 4-minute mile was broken. It's like once those barriers are broken, the potential is there. You see the potential in yourself too. So I love how you talk about, watching the other American women break those barriers and then seeing that being a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all use each other to inspire each other and fuel each other. So that's definitely something that fires me up.
What is an accomplishment you're most proud of?
It's probably more of a subjective accomplishment rather than objective. But I think the reason I am where I am today, and something that if I was to think of, if I have a daughter and something that I want to encourage her to do is to listen to your heart and to like really, really be in touch with like what you want to make of your life and the impact that you want to have and the way that you want to live it and to not listen to, kind of going back to what we were just saying a few minutes ago, but not listen to what other people define as successful or think that you should do with your life. So I think that there's been some moments where I had some big decisions that I really did a good job listening to my heart. And one of those was going to Georgetown and one of those was choosing to continue to run after college, even though I definitely did not have any sponsorship interest. And then one of those was moving to Flagstaff. And I think all the times are of like those decisions of listening to my heart, maybe more so than even logic or more so than what other people might have been saying were the things I'm most proud of and gotten me to where I am today. And I can't imagine not being in Flagstaff and not living this life I am with Mike and getting to run at this level. And I think all the things I'm like, all the other accomplishments are byproducts of the accomplishment of really listening to my own inner voice.
Wow, that was so well said. That was beautiful. I love it. Just like, so much truth behind that. You'll have to, if you do ever have a daughter, you'll have to write that message down for her to read someday.
Yeah, which also means she may not listen to a lot of my advice, but that's okay.
One day, there's always going to be those years where they don't listen, but one day we all come around and we're like, oh, my mom was right.
Maybe.
What?
Mom always wants what's best. Or always wants you to be your happiest. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh, you're preaching to the choir. I'm like, trying to do this virtual learning with my kids right now, and it's like every struggle, I'm like, I'm doing this because I want what's best for you. And also every time I say those things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a mom. Those are things that moms say. It's such a weird, like, I swear I've heard my mom say that 10 times. It's such a weird transition, a weird life-changing thing when you become the person saying the things that you heard your mom say for 20 years.
I can only imagine. And gosh, I really feel for teachers and parents right now going through this pandemic, and that's got to be so tough.
Yeah. It's something. I mean, my heart goes out to the teachers. My kids' teachers are amazing. The staff's amazing. They're doing a great job, but it's just hard for everybody, for parents, teachers, kids, speech pathologists, like anybody involved. It's a weird time. Well, we already went through a million books because one of my questions is always at the end, what's the best, most recent book you've read? But I didn't want to I knew I was going to ask this at the end, but I knew that you had a lot more to say because of our conversation. So that's why I asked you earlier. But did you have anything, like any beach reads or any fun reads that you wanted to recommend to the listeners?
Oh gosh, that's a great question, by the way. I love when I listen to your podcast, hearing what other people are reading.
It's like my favorite too. I'm like, I get so many good recommendations.
Honestly, it's a great question. Beach read, I would say Untamed by Glennon Doyle was like a real good, like low key page turner beach read type book.
Who is someone fun, motivating, or inspiring you'd like to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with?
Ooh, okay. If I was to get tea, I think it would be with the Dalai Lama. If I was to get a cocktail, I think probably right now, Alicia Keys, after reading her book and getting to learn more about her journey and her artist and creative process.
I have got to read that book. I heard her on Dax Shepard's podcast, and must have been like when she was doing her book tour stuff, and I kind of had forgot about it. So now it's back on my radar. Oh
yeah, definitely recommend that book.
Okay. Last question, Rachel. What is your one message to send to the world?
One message. I would say try to practice, and this is probably because I'm in this process right now, practice zooming in and zooming out, and to be really aware of the direct, intimate connections that you're making and the distractions that are making you disconnect, and then zooming out and really seeing yourself as just one human in this, on this rock that's in this massive universe, and kind of see how that makes you feel, and kind of all the ways we're all interconnected.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was great talking to you.
Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. Thank you, Rachel, for coming on the podcast. So excited that I finally got to interview you. You can find Rachel on Instagram. She is Rach Schneid 18. That's SCHNEID 18. You can find me on Instagram. I am Lindsay Hein 626. You can find me on Twitter at Lindsay Hein. I have a Facebook page and group as well. Would love to connect with you there. Don't forget, we started a new parenting podcast. Why is everyone yelling? Definitely give it a try. See what you think. I would appreciate it so much if you're listening to this show or that show, any of the shows in the Sandy Boy Productions Network, up and running, the Illuminate podcast. If you haven't left us rating and reviews, that would be a huge, huge help, and we would appreciate it so much. Thank you for being here. I so appreciate you. Have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. And as always, I will see you next Friday.